Now, the other issue that Donald Trump has, and I think that Joe Biden's got to bring this up in the debate. I think he's got to do it in a throwaway way, though. I think just like you pay $750 in taxes, congratulations, we're going to give you a medal, that type of thing, where he doesn't get too deep into it, where he can say like, there are guys, Donald Trump, who are working on an assembly line in Ohio or in Michigan. How is it they're paying more in taxes than you? Or I would say something to the effect of like, look, I know I got to spend some time primping, but $70,000 on your hair? Isn't that a lot? Like, what are you weaving that with gold? That type of thing I think is called for. But here is Tucker Carlson, the conservative populist, the guy who cares about the little guy, defending Trump's tax avoidance. There's a bunch of other fraud, I think, that's associated in the story. We're going to hear more. But here is Tucker Carlson, the voice of the people.
The second takeaway from the piece is that in some years, Donald Trump paid a strikingly low effective federal tax rate, probably lower than the rate you are now paying. Trump's accountants took advantage of the many provisions in our tax code to make that possible. What the president did was legal. In fact, it's all but universal among the affluent who earn their money from investments rather than from salaries. Should the president have used these conventional tax loopholes to his own benefit? We'll leave that question to the professional hyperventilators on the other channels. They're probably talking about it right now. In fact, of course they are. But far more interesting is this question. Why does our tax code remain so obviously, so grotesquely unfair? Billionaires should not be paying a lower rate than you are paying, no matter who they are, no matter who the president is. The main problem with America right now is that a shrinking group of people controls a growing share of our nation's wealth and power. America is lopsided, and it's getting more lopsided every year. That makes our country unstable. Lopsidedness is why a dozen left-wing tech oligarchs can decide what you're allowed to say and think.
Oh, boy.
It's why young people seem so hopeless and nihilistic, why so many of them are not starting families. It's why some of them are breaking things in the streets. It's why your grandchildren will almost certainly earn less than you do. And by the way, it's also why Donald Trump got elected 4 years ago. Americans could feel that something was profoundly wrong with the way our country was structured. Suddenly, it didn't feel like we were all in this together. It seemed clear that the people in charge were in it for themselves. So to fix it, voters went outside the system. 4 years later, some good things have happened. But the core drivers of the crisis that we face, a dying middle class and the growing hegemony of billionaires, remain unresolved. This is not a small problem. If we don't fix it soon.
All right. What's fascinating about this is you and I could deliver that same critique. But what he's not doing for his audience is to say, that's why Donald Trump got elected. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's just stipulate in Tucker Carlson's world that it is true. That's why Donald Trump got elected. The next thing you would expect out of someone who is actually honest with their audience would say is, and that's a failure of Donald Trump. They did. The one thing that they did pass was tax reform, and they left. Not only did they leave that dynamic intact, they enhanced that dynamic, and he enhanced it for himself. A actual non-role play conservative populist, if that one could exist, which I don't think could, would say, you may have voted for Donald Trump because of that. And then what he did is he screwed you over.
Right.
He made the tax code even more lopsided. He dropped, he dropped capital gains. He said if you're incorporated, you get more money. He basically said, lower the tax rate for the highest earners. You got screwed again by Donald Trump. But instead, what Tucker does is make it as if it's somewhere like it's all in the passive voice when it comes to actually somebody doing this. And this is a guy who tomorrow night will be moaning the idea that we're going to raise taxes on wealthy people.
But this is, a lot of reporting recently shows the direct line that Tucker Carlson has with Donald Trump, which is horrifying because it sounds like he is writing the spin on this because then it was mimicked by Ann Coulter and she added that line. I don't know if you guys saw that tweet line at the end saying, we're basically like, why didn't Democrats do anything?
Right.
It's
Well, this is what Joe Biden has to do. I mean,
Yes.
in 2016, Donald Trump could say, when Hillary
That's right.
Clinton says, you didn't pay any taxes. And he goes, that's because I'm smart. I have my accountants. That's the law. But in 2020,
yeah.
Joe Biden needs to say, this isn't about your accountants. This is about your political party and about what you signed that day when you signed that new tax law that the Republican Party passed. And that tax law benefited you in this way. It benefited all those cronies you're talking about. You were in a position to change this dynamic. And what you did was you enhanced it and grew this dynamic. And that's on you, buddy. You can't blame anybody but you for that. That's what Joe Biden has to say when that comes up. And if Tucker Carlson was anything but a play acting, that he gave a crap about that dynamic, that's what he would say too. And he would actually address the idea of why do we have that dynamic? Mm-hmm. It is because of Robert Bork. It's because of the Republican Party and Ronald Reagan, who changed the way that we assessed antitrust in this country. Mm-hmm. And it's because of the taxes that he's promoted, those lower taxes for rich people that he has promoted his entire career.